So, based on my analysis on the new paper, I think that the new paper has a very strong pro-government agenda and that it tries very hard to be a local Singaporean news source. It's very evident in the way they frame their stories, in the way they create their message. All of their front news piece always focuses on an aspect of the government. When they talk about people dying, when they talk about a animal dying, whenever they talk about a deal between Singtel, StarHub, and FIFA, it's very it brings up the government in each and every one of these pieces, and it makes it seem as though the government is very proactive, is very thoughtful of the Singaporean public, is very receptive of opinions, is very positive on the part of the government. And the way they frame their stories is based on many different factors. It's also on newsworthiness. They always talk about upcoming news, which is you know the basic of news telling, but at the same time, they bring up the government in these news stories. They don't focus on like the 8 dead in worker-related accidents. No, they focus on what the government is trying to do to stop worker-related accidents and how they've been planning on doing this for years. They don't focus on international news as much at all, really. If they focus on international news, it's always going to be about entertainment, either like stories like no one's gonna replace Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark on entertainment news, and all the other news in the news suggestions are gonna be local news, like an US student who died wrote a letter to her parents before her death, talking about how I mean, the saddest thing about dying is that her parents had to live through her death. It it's very local newsy. It's very pro-government. It's very positive and unifying for the Singaporean public. So when you talk about the role of of media in the new paper, I think it's trying its best to be in a very unproblematic source. It doesn't try to go out of its way to bring up discourse. It's very hard in trying to be positive to the government. It's very local newsy. It doesn't focus much on the outside world. It can be very influencing on you when all you're taking in from the outside world is entertainment, news. Makes you feel like the only problems in the world are in Singapore. But as far as I can see, the way they run their news stories on the front page, at least, is very Singapore centric, is what I would say.